Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We are listening to Judge Judy, and we're on a roll.
See. This is a really sad case. So I'm prepared to spend some time on this case this morning and roll up my sleeves and see if we can maybe resolve some things for the benefit of two little innocent girls. How old are your great-granddaughters?
They're 6 and 8.
You look very young to be a great-grandmother.
Thank you.
You are the maternal great-grandmother to these two little girls, and you are the paternal grandparents to these two little girls. So let me see if I understand this lawsuit. Your granddaughter died,
Yes,
the mother of the children. When did she die?
she died July 28, 1992.
And what was the cause of her death?
They couldn't find out really what caused it, but the death certificate says upper respiratory syndrome.
Your son went to jail.
Right.
For what?
Possession of stolen property.
How long was he in jail?
3 years.
So now, Miss Young, why don't you tell me what happened after they took the girls the 27th of June?
When they didn't bring them back by July 27th at 6 p.m., like the court order they had signed, said, I got worried. And the reason I got worried because they tried that before. That's the reason I got custody of the children.
You were concerned because the 27th of July came and
They
went and you
didn't
didn't see
come
the
back,
girls.
okay? So I called their home, the phone number that they gave me, and they had disconnected their phone. I became worried. So then I called Diane's work, and she told
That's
me...
you're Diane.
Yes. And she told me not to be calling there, and if I have any questions, get with your lawyer. That's what she told me. So I did. I called my lawyer, and we all became concerned because of what had happened before, So then I had to get my lawyer involved in this. I had to get the Twin Falls Sheriff's Department involved in this.
Well, so how did you finally get the girls back? I assume they're back with you?
Diane finally brought them back to the Sheriff's Department.
When?
After, that was Thursday, August.
3 days after we were.
3 days after we had got
Who are you?
I'm Vita Sauer. I am the children's grandmother.
Okay. You traveled down?
Yes.
You traveled out to Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're suing for, the expenses,
That's right.
the lawyer's expenses, and the expenses that you had for going down and getting the
I had
girls.
to pay all kinds of money. I have all the receipts. And so then
What happened when you got there?
when we got there, we got in touch with the Sheriff's Department, and it took us a while to get them going on it. They had to call our lawyer in San Bernardino. They had to get an order from the courts in San Bernardino or in Victorville to give them permission to pick up the children and return them to me because I have custody of them, see. Her son was found in the house. They had moved from the house where they were supposed to be.
Did you move?
We did move. Yeah.
Did you notify them that you moved?
No.
No, we didn't notify them. We notified our lawyer that we moved and changed the address.
Well, why didn't you notify Miss Young?
It's my son's attorney actually that gave us the advice to until she had settled things in San Bernardino to not let them know where we were to become scarce. So
I find that hard to believe that a lawyer would tell you that. And if a lawyer told you that, that lawyer deserves to be disbarred. If a lawyer told you that. So I find that very, very difficult as a lawyer myself to think that a lawyer would tell you to violate a court order, considering the fact, sir, that we have in this country the Uniform Child Custody Act, which means that every state, as you probably know, must abide by the court orders of another state when it comes to custody. So you're telling me that this lawyer told you, take the children, make yourself scarce, don't notify anybody.
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
That lawyer has also contacted you. We had to get an attorney, a criminal attorney in Idaho.
because we were arrested on kidnapping charges.
But he was already involved in what he ultimately went to prison for while the two girls were living with him.
A young California mother dies. Custody of her two daughters goes to the mother's family because their father is in jail. But when the father's family has the girls for a visit, they illegally keep the little girls in Idaho.
So you went down there. Where was your son during all this?
He's working full time.
When was he
living
released
with
from
us.
jail?
July 11th.
Of this year. So as soon as he got out of jail, he decides that he's going to get his kids back.
Get his kids back, right? So he contacted a lawyer in California.
Is this the first time he was in jail?
First time he was in prison, yes.
Well, are you differentiating between prison and jail?
Yeah.
He was
How many
arrested
times?
as a juvenile before.
How many times?
Once he was arrested.
Go ahead.
And once we took him to juvenile hall.
What did you take him there for?
Incorrigible behavior.
When he was how old?
16.
16,
How old is he now?
27.
And between 16 and 27, how many times was he arrested?
Well, not including this time, I think two other times.
Two other times.
Two other times. Right.
For what?
Once was for he stole a car. I think he was 17.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
You don't remember?
Quite frankly, what the other.
Well, but he was in jail 3 years on this stint, and
Right.
you know it's unusual to go to jail for 3 years just for possessing stolen property. What kind of stolen property did he possess?
I
Come on.
don't know.
Are
Frankly,
you
I
telling me
know
you
there
don't know the facts of the case that caused your son to be incarcerated for 3 years, sir? I find that hard to believe.
I don't know what all was the property was. I think there were some. Him and his friend pawned some merchandise, and I think there were some rifles involved in that. I think I don't know what other kind of property it was.
So we have guns, we have possession of stolen property, and was this property stolen during the course of a burglary?
You don't know that either.
I don't know whether he was involved in burglary or whether he helped his friend. His friend stole property. So I don't know whether he was involved in the burglary or just.
But there was a burglary involved.
There was a burglary involved.
So it sounds to me as if this young man has given you plenty of aggravation from the time he was very young.
Difficult teenager.
And a difficult adult.
He is difficult, yeah, I know.
He's 27, 28.
27 now.
He's 27 now, so he was 23, 22 or 23 when his wife died.
Right.
You had him taken into custody when he was 16 or 17 for incorrigibility. Between that time and this recent arrest, right, he was arrested 2 or 3 times in between that, right?
Right.
During the time he was in jail, everything was quiet. The children were with their maternal grandmother.
Everything was not quiet.
Your Honor, the circumstance of the maternal great grandmother getting the children was that they were living with us, and their father left them with us, asked us to take care of them.
What do you mean he left them with you? Why wasn't he taking care of them?
Because he was in jail.
He was arrested.
He was arrested.
Okay.
He was, the maternal great grandmother filed a complaint against us to try to get custody of her great grandchildren. She had tried several times previous to that, even when our son had made false claims against him of molestation and other things. He was totally investigated.
You mean there was a time, sir, when the children were just living with your son after the girl's mother died?
After their mother died.
After their mother died. And when was that? What year was that?
It was immediately after their mother died. They were, they had a house together that they were renting, and the girls lived with him. He couldn't handle it, so him and the girls moved in with us.
Is it that time that he was involved with this burglary and possession of stolen property?
He moved to Idaho. That's where he became involved in the burglary.
Why did you move to Idaho?
Because we liked Idaho. We preferred it to California.
Did he move first to Idaho?
He was arrested before. Yeah, he moved to Idaho. Then he came back to California.
Had he been arrested? Listen to me. Had he been arrested already, sir, in Idaho when he came back to California? Was he awaiting trial?
No.
And then he went back to Idaho?
He was extradited to Idaho. The crime was in Idaho.
Oh, listen to me.
He brought the children to us, asked us to take
So
care of the
he
children.
was
He was arrested
already
at our home.
But he was already involved in what he ultimately went to prison for while the two girls were living with him.
Correct.
The sheriff's department has.
Boy, people trying to double talk that woman. And don't work. She's smart.
A young California mother dies. Custody of her two daughters goes to the mother's family because their father is in jail. But when the father's family has the girls for a visit, they illegally keep the little girls in Idaho.
So while your two granddaughters are living with your son, and he's taking care of them, he's involved in either a burglary, possession of property, whatever, stolen property, the whole ball of wax, while he's supposed to be taking care of these two girls.
Correct.
Well, you can understand then why she would feel as if it's not a good idea for him to be around her two great granddaughters. You can understand that.
Well,
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. I assume that she is a smart enough lady to figure out what I figured out in 5 minutes. I'll tell you, after 24 years, this is not a unique story. The names may change, but it's not a unique story. You went down. I'm coming back to our case now for a minute. Tell me what happened when you went down to try to get the girls.
Apparently, these people moved in a hurry and then took the children, I don't know, to some park somewhere.
Yeah, we were camping.
No, you were hiding.
No.
Yeah, listen to me.
Okay,
you were
call it
hiding.
what you want. We were doing what we were advised by an attorney to do.
So you listen to me. Whether you were advised by the attorney or not, you were hiding.
Well,
So that you couldn't be found.
You can call it hiding if you want.
Well, that's what you were doing. You were hiding with the girls. You just acknowledged that you were doing that. You say you're doing it on the advice of your attorney. All right. You finally got the girls back.
We had to wait 3 days because
But ultimately, and it was after certainly the time period that they were supposed to return.
In fact, the sheriff's department had to issue an all-points bulletin in 3 states when they did not return the children. And that was issued in Montana, Utah, and Idaho because they had no idea where they were. The sheriff had talked to Diane on the phone, had warned her that the all-points bulletin would be issued, that a warrant for her arrest would be issued if she didn't bring those children in immediately. True? Diane chose not to bring them in until sometime the next afternoon whenever they felt like it. By then, the warrants had been issued. They were arrested when they showed up with the children and booked it to jail.
Yes. Now,
I talked to the sheriff's department as soon as we found out that the paperwork wasn't in, that there was going to be a warrant issued for our arrest. I told the sheriff's department that we were over 8 hours away. It was 10 o'clock at night. We were bringing the girls in the morning. And they said, all right, we're going to issue a warrant for your arrest.
No way. Listen, really isn't urgently important. What we know up until this point is you violated a court order, correct? That you agreed to. That's right. You agreed to a court order. You signed off on an agreement to return the girls by the 27th of July.
Correct.
Fine, you violated that.
Correct.
That caused the plaintiff to expend money to come to Idaho to retrieve her great-granddaughters.
That's right.
There's no question about that. Why do you laugh?
Part of it is we told the sheriff's department, all right, we were bringing the children back.
But
we're
not
not going to
27th.
endanger their lives by driving all night.
No, just a second.
That we would be there as soon as we got there. We would take them directly to the sheriff's department. We wouldn't take them home. We would not take them to see their father. We would take them directly to the sheriff's department, which is what we did.
She's already in Idaho.
That's her problem.
No, madam, that's your problem because she didn't get there on the 27th. Listen to me. She didn't get there on the 27th. 27th, she was waiting for the girls to be returned.
We were in Idaho.
I understand that. You should have returned the girls on the 27th as you were directed to do by a court, as you signed an agreement that you would do.
Not being attorneys, we believed what the attorney told us was what's going to happen, that she was going to go to court, she was going to file a petition to get a stay on us returning the children, that we were dropping out of the case because all we were doing is opposing her becoming guardian till Tim was able to take care of his children himself.
Do you live with your mother?
No.
You're a little bit younger. I'm just curious as to why you haven't sought custody of your granddaughters.
I believe that my mother could provide the best environment for them. She's retired and has a lot more time to spend with them. I work full time and I commute 40 miles a day one way to my job, and I have 3 young children, including a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old who has Down syndrome. So I'm a very, very busy person.
You have a full plate. Yeah. Okay. They plan to spend at least minimally, according to these bills, $5,000 to come down, including attorney's fees and airfare and lodging, in order to assure that these children will return to her. And you are responsible for that. There's no question about that. And if your attorney gave you bad advice, I suggest you go in and sue the attorney for the amount that this court is prepared to order, which is $5,000. I certainly think that if the attorney gave you that advice, in addition to suing the attorney, what you ought to do is report the attorney to the Bar Association, because that is the worst legal advice. Kidnapping children is the worst legal advice that any attorney can give. We don't do that in this country anymore.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
This case really has no winners. Your daughter is dead. She died when she was a teenager. He had 2 children. Your son has not demonstrated a track record, at least as far as this court was concerned. If I were hearing a custody case, that would suggest to me that 2 young children should be entrusted to him. While he had physical custody of these children, he was involved in the commission of a felony. Clear, plain, simple. And that's recent. He's out of jail now for a couple of months. That's not a track record. And he's been involved in this kind of activity. This isn't some aberration. He's been involved in this kind of activity for over a decade. You couldn't even control your own child. You had to go to the courts and say to a stranger at some point, I can't even control them. Please help me. So why do you think that any court would grant him custody of these 2 little girls who have already had the trauma of A, losing their mother, and B, being involved with their father when he was arrested for and committed a felony? These children deserve a degree of stability. And I'm looking at you 2 folks. I don't know very much about them, but I don't think that you come to terms with the fact that your son should not have physical custody of these 2 girls unless he is totally committed to their welfare. So far, he has not demonstrated that. I'm sure to you, if you look at it dispassionately, he certainly has not demonstrated it to a stranger like me. So where should the children be? They should certainly not be with him, at least for now. Now, the question is, if they were with you, how much contact would they have with their father? I think that they should have contact with their father. And I would ordinarily say that if these 2 people who are the grandparents and the father is in the area, and if they were 2 responsible people, there would be some issue as to whether you would be the better custodial guardians of these children as opposed to their great-grandmother, who is a little bit older, maybe doesn't have as much energy. If things were equal, but they're not equal, because you did a very bad thing. You placed the children at risk. You placed the children at risk by violating a court order and secreting them in violation of that order. And I think that the children are better off exactly where they are. So the judgment of this court is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, which is the amount of her request. That's all.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
Versus McDaniel Marinkovich. Step forward, please.
Lori Wallace paid for her friend Tawny's wedding dress. Now, Lori wants to be paid back, but Tawny vows she won't.
Order. All rise. Judge number 60 on the calendar in the matter of Wallace versus McDaniel Marinkovich. Have a seat, please.
Lori.
Yes.
Tawny? Tawny?
Yeah.
You're Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This was your friend.
Mm-hmm.
This was your friend.
Yes.
She was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
According to your complaint, she asked you to go with her to the place where she had seen a dress that she liked. She went there. She didn't have any money. She wanted to have the dress altered. You allowed her to put the dress on your credit card.
Well, yeah, I volunteered to take her to the store. She found the dress, and I made the first payment and the last payment. It hasn't been altered yet, though, as far as I know.
And the dress was $760 some odd.
Yeah.
And this was a loan?
Yes. She agreed that her mother would pay me $50 a week until she got a job, and then she would take over the payments, and within 3 months the dress would have been paid off. Her mom sent me one check. I told her I didn't get a second check. She checked with her mom. Her mom never did send me the second check.
And then this lawsuit has a few pieces to it.
Yes.
Then you say there's $40 that she owes you for some photographs.
Right.
Photographs of her children.
Right.
You have 4 children?
Well, 3 children and 1 is his child.
So you have 3. How old are you?
21.
How old are your children?
1, 2, and 4.
And one of the children is yours?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4 children altogether.
Mm-hmm.
How old is that child?
Actually, we have 2 together.
He's 8.
That's not your
Yeah,
child?
this is his child from a previous marriage.
Okay. So you took some photographs together with your children?
No, I took photographs at my last place of employment of her children, her 3 children, and I told her I'd split them, and I paid more than my half of the pictures.
Because you wanted pictures of her kids?
Yes, and I have those pictures here to prove that I did purchase those.
And you agreed to pay her half, is that right?
Yes. I don't have them. My mother has them in her possession. I looked at them and my mom took them and I do not have them in my possession.
She took them or you gave them to her?
She took them. I was living with her in Catalina, and when the pictures arrived with him, she took them. She said she wanted to get some for herself to keep, and I never saw them again. She still has them.
So your mom has the pictures?
Yes.
All right. Then we have a piece of a phone bill that you clearly in your answer, sir, acknowledge that you owe, that you used her cellular phone and ran up a bill of $300 and some odd. How did that come about?
Well, I agreed I couldn't afford the monthly payments for the cellular phone, so I agreed to give him my phone without charging him. He paid a deposit, put it in his name. I then called a month later to AirTouch, and they told me he denied to pay the $400 deposit. Next thing I know, I get a $366 cellular phone bill, which I took into account the money that I used.
And how much did you use?
$366 was the total bill. He agreed to $313, so about $50 was mine.
You went over the bill with her, correct?
With her boyfriend, I did, yeah. Yes.
And you agreed that you made $313 worth of calls. So why are we here? I don't understand why we're here.
Me neither.
You owe, just a second, you owe her for the dress. You owe her for half the pictures, which either you have or your mother has, and you say that, well, she didn't contact you for 2 months, according to your answer, so you thought this loan was forgiven.
And
so
her boyfriend told me her dad was paying for the bill, too.
What difference does that make? Not your dad.
I know, but I just assumed it was forgotten about.
Just a second. Well, I want you to think again. It's not forgotten about. So why aren't you paying her?
I agreed to pay for the bill. I just don't have the money for it right now, that's all.
Well,
and
what
she
you
hasn't
use
spoken to me for 2 months.
What? Why not?
We're all fighting right now.
I work with the defendant. We both work for the same company, and I've been trying to make arrangements with him for about 4 months now.
That's wrong. That's so wrong.
If he can't pull out a $20 bill to give me, then there's something wrong.
He hasn't spoken to me for 2 months, and that was a lie.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did anything precipitate this not talking, or was it just all over money?
Me and him had words in the store that we work at.
About what?
I don't want to get into that.
Fine, but did those words have anything to do with this debt?
No, it's just the fact that he quit talking to me.
But my question to you is, Mr. McDaniel.
I'm not refusing to pay it. When I have the money to pay it, I'll pay it.
Well, how can you use something? How can you use something?
I didn't realize the bill was going to be that high.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
I went to ask for the wedding dress in my possession until they have fully paid it off. I agreed to give them the dress back at the end of the time that they made full payments. Okay. I then said, now, like I said, it would be paid off in 3 months. Okay. So I wasn't going to charge them interest. There is interest added on there, $75, because of the fact that it had been on 6 months. They are correct.
My father did pay. I got a consolidated loan from my father. My dad should not have to pay their debts to me. And she also made a comment to me when I discussed it with her that she is not rich and that I'll get my money when they have it. Well, I'm not rich either. I lost my job when this incident happened, and to me, it was totally wrong. They used my friendship. I have proof right here of our friendship. They said things behind my back.
How do we use your
Just a
friendship?
second. I would suggest that you not say anything. I want to know why you didn't pay up for the wedding dress.
Okay, the wedding dress was between her and my mother. Okay, her and
No,
I
just
went to get the wedding
your
dress.
mother didn't go with you to the store.
No, but her and I went to the store. Okay, she volunteered to put on her
How did
credit
she
card.
volunteer?
She
Now
said,
tell me. I want you to tell me. You went into the store. Tell me what you said. Tell me what she said.
I saw a dress that I wanted before. She wasn't with me at this time. I was with his mother. I took her back to see the dress with me, and they needed to send it away for it to be altered to fit my size. That's when she was with me.
And
she
so
said,
what did
I
you
will
say?
go ahead and put on my credit card.
Just a second.
Okay.
You must have said, I don't have any money with me.
She knew I didn't have any money with me. I wasn't going down there to purchase the dress just to.
Did you say to her, I don't have any money?
I don't remember if I actually said that to her, but she knew that I didn't have money.
Can I say
She
something?
offered to put it on her credit card, and I said, it's up to you. And then when we went back to get it the second time, when it came back in, she also said the same thing. My mom found out that she was paying for this, so my mom said, I will pay her back $50 every 2 weeks
Well,
when I
how
get
did
paid.
you expect to buy this wedding dress if you had no money? Did you expect her to buy it?
No, my mother was doing it as a gift for me.
She
Lori,
never had any contact with your mother before she went to the store?
It was a verbal agreement between
her
us.
and my
There
mother
also was a
did
verbal
agree.
agreement that she would take over the payments as soon as she gets a job. That's
That
not
is
my
not
fault that she
true.
has 3 kids and she's stuck at home and doesn't have a vehicle to get to and from work.
We
She
don't need
did
to get
Why
into
did you,
that.
just a second, why did you need this wedding dress anyway?
Because we had set a date to get married on July 20th, 1996.
Is it a very elaborate wedding dress?
Yes.
Is it a very, it is?
Well, it's pretty.
Well, it's pretty elaborate.
Do you want me to?
That's a pretty elaborate wedding dress.
Yeah.
Good. And now, how many people are you having at this wedding?
I don't know exactly.
Give me an approximate figure.
About 200 or.
And who's paying for this wedding for 200 people?
That's why we haven't gotten married yet.
Who's paying for the wedding? You said
That's
you
what
said a
she's saying.
date.
We can't
I'm saying
afford
we
it
can't
yet.
afford it. That's why we have not gotten married yet. Because we have to do it our own now because I'm no longer speaking with my mother because her and I had a falling out in Catalina. We are not speaking.
So now you have a wedding dress. I know date.
Will wedding bells ring? Will Tawny pay Lori for the dress? Stay tuned.
You two people better grow up because you seem to have a problem, and the problem is, you ever hear the word OPM or the letters OPM? That stands for other people's money. You seem to have a propensity for spending other people's money.
Lori Wallace paid for her friend Tawny's wedding dress. Now, Lori wants to be paid back, but Tawny vows she won't.
Who was supposed to pay for the wedding?
My mom was going to help and our family was going to help.
You two people better grow up because you seem to have a problem, and the problem is, you ever hear the word OPM or the letters OPM? That stands for other people's money. You seem to have a propensity for spending other people's money.
I don't know I spent her money on the wedding dress.
Of course you spent her money on her. Of course you spent her money on the wedding dress. She wasn't getting married. Your mother wasn't getting married. You went to the store with her. She was a good friend, a good enough friend. Hey, listen, you two people probably deserve each other. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff and the amount requested, which is $1,140. Thank you. That's all.
Step out, please.
Obviously, if they're not making payments to me, I can't trust them to have the dress.
Don't give me your looks, Lord.
She's gonna live off of welfare and his paychecks. I'm glad that she gets to keep the dress. They do deserve
I'm
to.
glad you won. I'm glad you won. I really am.
And now, the next case.
Bodies on Warden versus Castleberry. Step forward, please.
When Susan Warden's best friend, Elaine Castleberry, needed cash to get married, she loaned it. Susan says Elaine won't pay her back. Elaine says she did pay her.
You two nice ladies used to be friends.
Yes.
How long were you friends?
About 6 years.
Yeah, about 6.
Then you were going to Alabama to get married.
Well, we were going on vacation to Pennsylvania and Alabama.
and got married in Pennsylvania.
And according to the complaint, you lent the defendant $300.
Yes.
And she came back, didn't pay it back right away. And then there was a problem with your two husbands.
Yeah.
One borrowed $20 from the other, came in asking for the $20.
That's neither here.
You got angry. You got angry. Said, "What about my 300?" And the fight was on.
I guess so. I got angry over the $20, just the nerve of him coming over for $20 when she owed me $300. He got his money that day.
It was between you and me.
I know, but you still haven't paid me back, Elaine.
Don't yell at each other. Talk to me. It's not a lot of money. It's $300. We'll get to the bottom of it. The sad part of it is that you're not friends anymore. You lent her the $300, and she and her new husband came home, correct?
Yes.
And at some point, your husband went over to get $20 from her husband that he had borrowed.
Right.
And what happened when he came over?
He was just, he was angry about the $20 because my husband takes forever to pay him back, but that's between those two.
So what happened? He came over and he said,
and he was complaining about the $20 and everything else, and kind of on a rampage, and just angry words and everything else. And I tried to shut my mouth. And then, because her and I are friends, and then I just let loose because I was, angry.
So you let loose and said that.
And I just said, excuse me, wife, I was supposed to spell that out, but wife owes me, but I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say your wife, and then the reverse. Because her and I were friends, I did not mean that, but I was angry. And so I gave him the $20, and we haven't spoken ever since. We were neighbors.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yeah.
We were friends for a long time.
So now you're sitting there lying to me. I'm lying, and you don't give my money.
You're yelling at each other.
You're lying.
When Susan Warden's best friend, Elaine Castleberry, needed cash to get married, she loaned it. Susan says Elaine won't pay her back. Elaine says she did pay her back.
Did you pay her back $300? Mm-hmm. Did you?
Yes.
When?
I paid her partial in November, and then the other part in January.
Oh, you're gonna go to hell for lying. You know that's a damn lie. You did not pay me anything.
You paid her any part of it after you had this argument?
Yes.
You did?
Well, we never had an argument.
Well, when you stopped talking to each other.
Okay.
You paid her after you stopped talking to each other? Well, tell me about how you paid her.
How I paid her?
Yeah, tell me about exactly under what circumstances you paid her.
I put money in an envelope and gave it to her boyfriend. No, gave it to her boyfriend.
That's not him.
To give it to her.
That's not responsible. It's me you borrowed the money from, not him. Me.
What?
Well, we weren't talking or anything. You
ladies to me. Listen, you ladies are not paying attention to me. You have to talk to me, not to each other. If you want to talk to each other, that would be fine, but you do that outside.
Okay.
It's just
in here you talk to me. Why would you give her cash instead of a check if you weren't talking to her?
I never thought anything about it. I never thought anything about it. Not at all.
How long did it take you to pay back this money?
I borrowed it in September, beginning of September, and I paid $150 in November.
Did she give you any money in November?
I haven't received a dime from her. And that's why I waited till over a year to file in small claims court. I haven't received nothing at all, and I don't lie. I didn't think she did either, but I don't.
Also, this was a loan between her and I. My husband knew nothing about it.
That's why she's mad, because I told him.
And that's why I gave cash mostly also.
Did you? Let me ask you this question. Well, after the argument, and you weren't talking to each other, certainly your husband knew about it. So then you could have given her a check.
I could have the last payment. I guess.
Sure, you could have given her a check. Your husbands, seems to me this problem started over them. So are they talking to each other now?
Yeah, they talk.
They have been talking. I've moved since. I don't know what
before she moved.
Okay, and he's not my husband, first of all. He's my boyfriend.
Are you still together?
No.
Why?
Oh God, that's a long story.
Well, I want to know if it had anything to do with honesty.
Who, Woody? I mean, my,
The boyfriend, the boy.
no, I just got sick of the same old,
What?
Just not reliable, not working, me supporting everybody. I got tired of it. I threw him out.
Well, then how do you know that he didn't take this money that you gave?
Because I know she did not give the money. I know she did not, because she doesn't have the money, and you know how Woody is. Why would you give him money? Because this is an excuse for you right now to use it. She would give the money to me. If she can write me letters, do everything else, the money would go. She borrowed the money directly from my hands. Why can't she give it back to my hands?
That's a reasonable question.
Yeah.
We were friends for a long time.
So you don't now you're sitting here lying to me. I'm lying and you don't give me my money.
You're
How
yelling
can
at
you
each
friends?
other.
You're lying.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
Okay.
She has a point.
I didn't even hear what she said. I'm sorry.
Well, generally her point is you have to put the money in her hand, not in the hand of the third person, because then you're never sure whether she's going to get it, especially if it's cash. She tossed out this boyfriend because he was not responsible. Yeah, I know that, but you have an obligation if you owe her money to see to it that she personally gets the money. And clearly, that wasn't done if you gave the money to a third person. You have no information that he actually turned this money over to her. I'm not sure whether you actually gave him the money anyway, but even if you did, it would be like giving it to a stranger and saying, would you give this to Miss Wharton? You can't do that, and you know that you can't do that. It's just too bad that you used to be friends, and you're not friends because you got a little hot under the collar.
I don't know how to. Look, she's lying. She's I'm glad I'm not friends with her. She's a liar.
Listen to me. I want you to just think about it.
I like liars.
Just think for a second. The two guys got into an argument. You got hot. Really had nothing to do with her. You got irritated because you didn't like what he was doing in your house, and you took it out on her. By saying bad things about her, by calling her a name.
Yeah, okay, it was one sentence, and I did not mean that sentence. I told her, I wrote her letter and said I did not mean that sentence. I was angry, and the words got reversed. I did not mean that.
But listen to me. You're excited, but you said it. And not only did you say it, but in this argument that these two childish boys were probably having, you had no right to bring her into it because she had not told her husband that you had.
That's why she got angry, because he didn't know, and that's why, because she got in trouble from him. I believe.
Well, that's true,
for borrowing money.
But that was something that you created over a situation that really had nothing to do with her. It was the two guys.
Yeah,
so let me tell you.
They should have went outside then, I guess.
Absolutely right. So I want you to at least leave here. You're going to leave here with your $300 because I'm going to award you that. But I want you to at least understand that you caused this problem because you got hot under the collar in a situation that had nothing to do with her, but you brought your friend into it. And you shouldn't have.
I guess, but okay. Yes, I did.
That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Thank you.
Judge Judy will return in a moment. Ellen and Daniel Paiva were planning to marry. He got married, but it was to someone else. Now, Beverly says she paid for another woman's ring, and she wants the money back.
Order, all rise. Now, this is number 43 on the calendar in the matter of Mullen versus Piper. You may be seated.
Miss Mullen, Mr. Paiva, who are you?
Mrs. Paiva.
Whose wife?
My wife.
Tina. He may need you, but not right now. Maybe when it's over. Miss Mullen, I've read your complaint. This was your boyfriend. You lived together for 9 years. Never married.
Right.
Can you tell me why?
We couldn't get married.
Why?
We were going to get married. Daniel, we were going to get married.
Just a second. What I'm trying to figure out is you had 2 children.
Right.
He had 1 child.
Right.
And you lived together sort of as a family for 9 years.
Okay, you going to take the dogs out?
One during that time,
Because I
Okay.
had a bad marriage previously, so I was gun shy. I wasn't ready to jump in the kettle and get burnt again.
In any event, after this 9 years, according to your complaint, you say that the defendant decided to relocate to West Virginia.
Correct.
And people were going to get married, and he said as soon as he's set up there,
We were going to
you
go.
were going to take your 2 children and go to West Virginia, be married, and be a happy family.
Right.
I understand that your complaint says, sir, you ran to West Virginia to escape.
To escape everything, including the gang we let for my son and the mistreatment for my son, and I couldn't break away from her.
Your Honor, I have letters from him stating that we were getting married. And also,
Do you acknowledge, sir, that you wrote a letter?
Yes, I did. I was in a bad state of mind then.
up until
Serious.
the end of January.
Just a second. So at the time, let me understand this. Do you acknowledge, sir, that after you left and went to West Virginia, you did in fact write to her and tell her that you were going to marry?
Before he...
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay, can I answer? Say why. Okay, I was in a bad state at work. Okay, you know, I'm stupid. I was stupid saying that. I know. I wasn't thinking straight.
Yeah, but she relied on that.
But we were talking about it, and then she brought up she wanted to take custody of her sister's kid. We couldn't even afford hers.
You
together.
knew about Felicia
Yeah.
since we've been together.
But we couldn't even afford
Just
it.
a minute.
And then she said she didn't want to
Listen,
marry me for my name in California, but in West Virginia. And it's like, that's not love.
No, I said after I
hey,
used
listen,
my...
you're talking to him. Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
You did, in fact, write to her after you were in West Virginia, professing your love for her and telling her that you were going to marry, because she says, based upon that,
I'm not lying to that. I won't lie, and it's true. It was stupid of me.
that would be a big mistake to lie.
Yeah, I agree.
So she says, based on that, she sold her furniture.
No, got
She-
rid of the furniture.
Or got rid of her furniture. She
She had no place
quit her
to put them in
job.
now. She was living at her mom's.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry.
She made certain changes in her lifestyle in contemplation of following up on what you said you were going to do in those letters. And then there came a time when you say that you found out
Yeah,
that he wasn't going to marry you.
Yeah, his mother told me New Year's Eve, and I wrote him a letter, which I have a return receipt that I asked him if we were still getting married. He called me up because he hates writing. Yes, babe, we're still getting married. Don't worry. You're going to be here in West Virginia. You won't have to worry about my mom. Then at the end of January, I get this letter from him canceling our wedding, and it's not because he was marrying Tina.
That's right.
Hi, glad to meet you. But he didn't even say he was marrying someone else. He was still
Why do
wouldn't
I
even
have to
admit he
ask
was
her?
going to marry someone
Why
else.
do I have to ask her if I can marry someone?
He went to find a new life. Instead, he found a new wife. And Beverly Mullen isn't happy. Judge Judy will return in a moment. Beverly Mullen and Daniel Paiva were planning to marry. He got married, but it was to someone else. Now, Beverly says she paid for another woman's ring, and she wants the money back.
What is it that you are suing him for?
What I'm suing him for is he promised to give me half of, I received the first half of his income tax. The second check that comes in, I was supposed to get $500 from him for that half. For the 8.5 years we've been together, we've split his income tax
We
in
were
half.
together at
Just a
that time,
second. For
Donna.
8.5 years, now you said that you were on welfare for most of that time. Is that right?
Yes, and welfare knew about all this.
Just a second. If you were on welfare for most of that time,
Oh,
was welfare paying the rent on your house?
Yes, and I was working part-time also, and they knew about that as well as me going to school, getting my
All right.
AA.
And you were living there.
yes,
Oh.
So, Mr. Pike,
my son and I.
your son,
Mm-hmm.
both of you were living there.
Yes.
Who's
And
speaking?
you were working and not earning a lot of money because according to your answer, sir, my memory is
Yes.
correct. You said you were finally working yourself up because
Yes.
you finally
Okay,
had a
I
job
know I
where
do
you were
owe
earning
it.
$12
I
an
would have to
hour.
wait till the end of the month to make
Finally found me a job that would put me up. Yeah. It wasn't
Well,
that
I mean,
much,
we're
but
not talking about high living on $12
Okay.
an hour, sir.
that's why
So
we
then-
both needed to
Thank
work.
you.
I'm sorry, but That's why we both needed to work. And she
You're
decided
not
she didn't
following my
want to.
drift, Mr. Piper.
Yes.
My drift is that for probably a substantial portion of that 9 years, one way or another, you shared in the welfare that she was getting, both
No.
you and your son.
She didn't get enough.
She may not have gotten enough, but she got enough to cover the rent.
Half of the rent. Half of the rent.
And who paid the other
And part
half?
of the, I did. Plus, I had a little bit more money coming in than there, of course.
Excuse me, please.
Who are you?
I'm her mother, and was his mother also, acting as his mother also. For 7 years, they lived at my house.
Not 7 years.
You are very rude.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
However long it was, because I'm not going to dispute the years, it is not correct that she paid half the rent and he paid half the rent. I never received a penny from him. However, the rent is, excuse me, the rent was reasonable enough and Beverly paid it.
From
She paid
welfare.
it to me, yes.
From welfare.
Yes.
Okay. Listen, I had a sense when I saw that in your answer that there was a problem with that, and that was probably at least one of the reasons why there was no marriage for this 9-year period. You could have a seat.
Thank you.
That was a number.
Look, you're not entitled to half his tax return if you weren't working. If you had no income during that period, you're not entitled to half his tax return. What's the next claim that you have?
Half of his storage payment that he owed me. When he first went to West Virginia to help his aunt out on the field, because she had a problem getting her crop in, I said,
Just tell me about the
yeah.
storage.
So he told me, I'm running short. You go ahead, pay the storage, and I'll pay you my half. I said,
Did you
okay,
tell her that?
Daniel, I
No.
will.
Wait just a second. Look at me. Did you tell her that you would
Sorry, I
pay?
should have looked at China.
Did you tell her that you would pay half the storage?
Well, yes. But I've been paying up until then.
Did you tell her that you would pay half the storage, sir, when you went to West Virginia? Jack.
Yeah.
So how much does he owe you for the storage?
$302.50.
Now, my question to you, Mr. Paiva, is you filed a counterclaim.
Yes, I did.
But in your answer, you say that really all you wanted to do was to go start a new life and be free of all these problems. But as long as I suppose you got served with her summons and complaint, you decided to counterclaim.
Yeah, she could help pay off those bills her and I made that are on my record.
Judge Judy will return in a moment. Beverly Mullen and Daniel Paiva were planning to marry. He got married, but it was to someone else. Now, Beverly says she paid for another woman's ring, and she wants the money back.
Let's deal with those bills that are on your record. What bills, sir? Don't take out that whole big envelope.
No.
I don't know that.
Credit. Here's my credit. And you can, let's see. From the credit bureau.
Well, how do we know that those were bills when you were
Look
together?
at the dates.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything to him.
Those
Madam,
were made with us.
Madam, don't talk to him. Did he leave with any bills?
No, he sure is didn't, Your Honor.
What's this K Jewelers?
Okay, that's
Purchased $3,200.
That's our.
That's where we purchased our rent.
Just a second.
Those are my credits.
Well, then why am I looking at these things?
The first pages are his credits, which is all bad.
So I can't tell from based on these what they're for. Just as they were turned over for collection. The only thing that I was really interested in, listen to me. The only thing that I'm interested in that you talk about in your counterclaim is this Chevy Impala that you say was sold for $600, and it was the car that the two of you shared, and she was supposed to give you half of it or $300.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, that's not true.
Well, just a second. Tell me about it.
The story behind that, I left her with the car. I had this raggedy old truck I drove. Okay, we split up, and she was talking about selling it, and she had told me, well, we'll split the money. But then she told me after a while, she says, I was talking to a friend, she never did state who it was, that she didn't have to give me half for whatever reasons.
What was the car in her name?
It was in my name.
It was in your name. So did you sign the pink slip?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Why did you sign the pink slip?
Because it was being sold. She says, I just wanted out. I just gave her take the money.
You told her to take the money.
Yes.
Good.
But I figured you took
He's lying on that,
her.
too.
Okay.
Just to say he's not. Madam, why would you say he's lying? He just admitted to me that he told you, here's the pink slip, sell the car, take the money. Why would you say he's lying?
Because it makes it sound like he gave me the car. The thing was, he had a truck beforehand. He sold the truck for $1,000, bought a sports car. And then I told him, well, I'm going to sell this car, get a smaller gas mileage car, so that way I could drive to West Virginia. And he said, sure, go ahead and do it. In fact, I'll sign the pink slip. I said, great. That way there I don't have to have it transferred to West Virginia. He said, go ahead and do
Our
it.
first conversation.
Whatever it doesn't matter.
Our first conversation was.
It doesn't matter, sir. You just acknowledged to me.
Yes.
You told her to take the money.
I took for granted. I said, well, she can take it.
Listen, you owe $302 for the storage bill that you acknowledged that you owe her. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $302. Madam, say nothing.
He has a son, and I was an acting grandmother. That relationship was cut off. And I don't know what you can do, but I would like
to be able to see him
or talk to him or write to him or anything.
Well, let me tell you this. That requires this man being more of a person than, quite frankly, I think he is.
I'll ask him. There's a man in me. I'll ask him if he wants.
Write to him at his address. If he's a human being, he will deliver your letters and the boy will answer you. That's all.
Thank you.